Okay, welcome to Pure Truth Podcast. This is your host and producer, Lucas Bealey. Now, today we are in the book of Enoch and we're, you know, taking a journey with Enoch to find the possible location of um, the land of Eden and the Garden of Eden. Now, there's something that I talked about um, last Friday. I talked about this subject last Friday, but I decided to, talk about this subject again. So before I get started, don't forget to like, share with 3 people, um, subscribe, and then ring the bell notification. Now, for those that are viewing, I have a challenge for you. Um, I'm at about like 181 subscribers, and when I get to 300, I know that seems big, um, but when I get to 300, I am going to read to you from this book. This is my book that I have um, published, self-published through Amazon. So you can only get it at Amazon, and I have the link linked into the chat. And so if you want to go check that out, I hope that you do. It's a comedy series. This is the only season that is out right now. Um, I am working on season 2. So that tells you that, yes, there are going to be multiple seasons that will one day collectively um, work together, being sold separately, I should say, being sold separately, but um, you can buy those, or hopefully sometime in the near future there will be other seasons that will make up a series that you would have to buy individually, but Beauty, a comedy series. Once I get to 300 subscribers, I will read to you, no matter if the book is selling or not selling. Once I get to 300 subscribers, I will read to you from this book. From this book. Um, that is Beauty, a comedy series, season 1. And so, like, share with 3 people, and comment, or and subscribe and ring the bell notification. Now, also, too, another thing that I would like to say before I get started. Last time I had somebody on here who thought that they were smart and was trying to tell me that the Garden of Eden is in Finchley. And when I asked them about that, they said that they got that out of a book that they read. But that's all that they could tell me. So, listen, you read books, I read books. The thing is with books is sometimes books are just as bad as the internet. Now, I'm not saying all books. I'm just saying that, yeah, some, like, you can't just take the book's word, or whoever wrote the book, you can't just take their word, is what I'm saying. So when you're looking things up on the internet, you can't just take the internet's word for it. You can't just take the person that created the website and the blog, you can't just take their word for it. You have to, do the research yourself. And what I'm saying is, likewise, when you read a book, you have to do the research yourself. You can't just, you're going to take the book's word for it that the Garden of Eden is in Finchland. Seriously, do the research. Obviously, I can tell you that it's not in Finchland. It's not in Finchland whatsoever. So, that was just crazy. And they thought they knew better than I did. And, I was trying to explain to them that I am not just reading the book of Enoch, that I've also studied it. I've, studied it. I've done the research. I found out that the book of Enoch does hold truth. And I'm not going to explain myself in this video that all the research that I've done to find that the book of Enoch does hold truth. But I will say that I do have videos. I do have videos that you can go back to. If you go on my YouTube channel, you can check that out. You can check those videos out. And so, when he said that, or when I said that I studied the book of Enoch, then he said, well, I also went to, college and this and that. So mainly he was just trying to, he was saying that he was trying to say that I was dumb. And, I just want to say real quick that if you're anybody that jumps on and somebody that is not willing to sit and listen, if you're somebody that disagrees, fine, disagree, but be respectful. If you're not going to be respectful, you're getting blocked. I don't care. I do not care. I'm not going to put up with people that are not willing to sit and listen to the knowledge and wisdom that the Lord has given me. So I just want to say that first and foremost, if you're not going to be respectful, you can comment and give me respectfully give me your opinion. I'm all down for that. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be disrespectful, I'm going to not just mute you. I'm not going to put you in timeout. I know some people will put people in timeout and then they'll mute them. No, I'm not going to do that. You're getting blocked. On my channel, if there's somebody that's going to be disrespectful, you're getting blocked. And hopefully one of these days I will have monitors to block all of the unrespectful comments. Right now it's just me, so I don't know what I'm going to do if I get, hundreds, but, the Lord will help me out, I'm sure. But yeah, for now on, if you're somebody that comes on while I am live, if you come on after I'm live and leave comments, you know what? Big deal, big whoop. I'm not going to but if you're somebody that's coming on live and putting disrespectful comments, you're getting blocked right off the bat. So I just wanted to say that. So Enoch, and I think in starting in chapter 28 through chapter 32 or something, I can't remember it because I have the book. I actually have the book of Enoch right here, but I'm not gonna flip to it because this will be brief. Because I already talked about this Friday, so this is gonna just be a brief from what I talked about Friday. So you're not gonna get the whole. So, but in the book of Enoch, it does talk about how he during this travel he's headed east, and he goes by a valley that is full of water, and the definition of a valley, it dips down like this. You have a high side here, the low side is in the middle, and then another high side. Well, the Red Sea, and you might be somebody that disagrees, but the Red Sea, if you think about it, that qualifies as a valley. I know it is a sea, and Enoch doesn't say that he is passing over a sea. Well, not until later. I know at this point, Enoch says that he passes over a valley full of water. Maybe perhaps he didn't know that later in life we would call that the Red Sea. I mean, I don't really know. But if you're somebody that disagrees, I mean, that's cool. You can disagree with whatever, but be respectful of that. And what I'm saying is, just looking at the definition of what a valley is, a valley can be anything, similar to what you see my hands doing. You have a high point here, you have a high point here, and in the middle, it dips down and makes a valley. And so, by definition, the Red Sea is not only a sea, but it's also a valley. And so, that's the only valley that I can see on the globe that is just full of water. Full of water. So, that's where I am saying that Enoch is at this point. And let me grab my globe here. So from there, from the Red Sea, if you take a globe like this and you draw a straight line east, just a straight line. Now, there's some people that say that the Garden of Eden is in Australia, mainly based on, two things that the book of Enoch says. One thing is from the book of Enoch, and says that he traveled over the Ethiopian Sea, and what people seem to think is the Ethiopian Sea is over here. Now, yes, Australia is east, but it's southeast. It's southeast. And then the second thing is yes, the book of Enoch says that in the garden there are trees that are large. And yes, the in Australia is home to the second largest tree on this in this planet. Although but also it's not they don't have the tallest. And so that kind of is iffy. I would say that Australia is probably anywhere from 1 to 5% the correct location. Probably not much higher than that, just because of that fact that it's southeast and not east. And yes, they have tall trees, but only the second tallest. There's another place that has trees taller and would be due east from the Red Sea, due east. So not only does California is home to the redwood, which is the largest trees on this planet, but it's also, Southern California is due east from the Red Sea. So if you take your finger and right here and you draw a straight line, you're going to end up in Southern California. You're going to land up in Southern California. And how do you do that? You take this here. You take this here. You put it like that. Put your finger there. And you take the globe and you just trace. You trace. And you end up in Southern California. So you're putting your finger there and you're taking that metal and you're doing that. So that way your finger doesn't move. And you do land in Southern California. You land in Southern California. So I know that's not huge evidence. So I'm not saying that California would be, or Southern California would be the Garden of Eden. I mean, although kind of east from that, like in the land of Eden, you have to realize that Cain went east to the land Nod. And what I'm saying is it's possible that America could have been Nod. And here's why. Here's why. Because just recent archaeologists, just recently in like 2020 or 2021, made a discovery. They made a discovery. And I don't have my notes for this part. In Wisconsin, not far from Madison. Lake Mendota. At Lake Mendota, they have found canoes that were sunk. They found canoes that were sunk. And they dated these canoes back to 4,500 years ago. And now you can believe that or not. You can believe what I just gave you or not. But there are archaeologists about in 2020, 2021, they found these canoes and they dated them back 4,500 years. And so what I'm saying is, and they found them at Lake Mendota. And so what am I saying here? I'm saying that that's really close to the time of the flood, the time of Genesis flood. Very, very close. So that's another piece of evidence. Right now, we have two pieces of evidence. That point to America being possibly the land of Nod. Now, I'm not saying that it would be the land of Eden, although, yeah, we do have a possibility that California or Southern California could have been the Garden of Eden. So, that's what I'm saying. Is what I am saying is it sounds very much like we could have came from America. So that's two pieces of evidence. The third piece of evidence that we find is when you look at where the ark landed. So let's go to where they say the ark landed. They say that the ark landed in Turkey. Sorry about that. They say that it landed in Turkey. So we can then go from that spot, draw a straight line. And you're coming to about the Wisconsin-Illinois border when you draw a straight line. If you go just a little bit north of that border, that's where Lake Mendota would be. It's around Madison. So if you draw that straight line back from Mendota, you land just north of where the possible location of Noah's Ark. Now, what direction? So that's three pieces of evidence. That's three pieces of evidence right there. So what direction was Noah's Ark headed? Was it headed east? Was it headed west? Was it headed north? Was it headed south? I don't know at this point. I'm at a point where, I'm at a standstill right now in my research. But what I'm saying is if I can find out where the front of Noah's Ark, where they say the front of Noah's Ark is pointing, that's going to indicate where it came from, what direction it was headed. So let's say that these scientists or whatever say that the front of Noah's Ark is pointed east. That means it was that means it launched from somewhere in the west, headed east. So that is a very good possibility at that point. And I'm not saying that we have that evidence, but what I'm saying is what if they find evidence that the front of Noah's Ark is pointed east? Then that is a very good possibility of the evidence that it possibly came from Lake Mendota. We already know if you draw a straight line, you're going to end up very, very close to the spot where it landed in Turkey. So that's 3 pieces of evidence. I found 3 pieces of evidence suggesting that it is possible that actually Noah started in America. That it is possible that 3 pieces of evidence suggesting that the Garden of Eden is somewhere in Southern California. And that when Cain left Eden, he went east. And east would be the rest of America, because you can't really go west. And I know things would have been different back then, but like as far as like there being more land, but I still believe that even back then, probably that's as far west that you probably would have been able to go. So from there, going east and to the land Nod. So, but that's 3 pieces of evidence. Now, do we know this yet? No. So here's another suggestion: is look at the North Pole. Now, when you pull up the North Pole on Google Earth, you can't look at it. It's kind of erased from Google Earth. But what I will say is it's interesting that when you stand on the North Pole, east is simply to your right. Simply now you can think that I'm phony, but think about it. If you're standing directly on the North Pole or South Pole, east is going to be on your right, west is going to be on your left. I mean, that's kind of how, I mean, when you're standing on the South Pole, I mean, what direction is going to be east, north, south, or west? I mean, tell me that, like, when you're actually standing on the North or South Pole. I mean, there is no east, south, west, or, west or north. I mean, there just isn't. it's interesting, like when you go from the North Pole or South Pole, once you get to the North Pole and you keep going, so let's say you start in America, you head north to the North Pole, you get to the North Pole and you keep going. Well, now you're headed south. Now you're headed south. And if you're headed for the North Pole from Asia, you get there and you keep going, you're eventually going to start going south. And it's the opposite when you step on the South Pole. But if you're standing on the South Pole or standing on the North Pole, east and west is mainly just to the right or left of you. And so what I have to say there is that, yeah, if you're standing facing a certain direction at the North Pole, it is possible that the Canada and the United States, the land that we call Canada and the United States, are, basically that it's wet or it's east, right? So that's why I say the North Pole is a possibility. I would only say that the North Pole is like I don't know, somewhere between 20 to 35 percent probable, somewhere around there. The three evidences that we have for America, I would say puts America at around, I don't know, 55% to 65% probable. I wouldn't go any higher than 65%. Now, yes, there's quite a bit of evidence. I mean, hard, like not just three evidences, but pretty strong, hard evidences. And but without knowing what direction the front of Noah's Ark is landed or is pointing, we just don't really know for sure which way it was headed. Now, again, when we know that, yeah, it was pointed east, that would be a good indicator that the ark, Noah's Ark, was launched from land somewhere from the west. And so but here's something else that you got to think about is that the Noah's Ark, the whole entire earth at this point is underneath water. So the whole entire earth is an ocean at this point, and there is no, like, Noah is not driving the ark. There's no sails on the ark. the ark is just dead in water. So it's mainly just going to go on one straight path. And America to Turkey. So here's something that you have to think about is if it truly landed in Turkey, that means the ark would have had to come. I mean, so here's another thing to think about is if the let's say Noah's Ark launched from somewhere in Africa or somewhere from the Middle East or whatever, the ark, Noah's Ark, is going to overshoot Turkey. Think about that. Think about that. So if Noah's Ark launched from Africa or launched from Europe or launched from the Middle East or even launched somewhere in Asia, I mean, from Europe, Africa, the Middle East, it's going to overshoot Turkey. Now, it might be possible that it might land in Turkey from Asia, but I don't know. I can't really. That's still a pretty short distance for the time that Noah's Ark was, for the time that the Earth was underwater. It's just I still believe that even if it launched from Asia, headed west, it's still a possibility that it's going to overshoot Turkey because Noah was in the ark for like around 7, 8, maybe 9 months. And some may even be able to find an argument for a whole year. Now, I mean, I don't really see that, but I can see where some people can maybe even find the argument that he was inside the ark for a full year. Again, like but anywhere from around 7 to 9 months would be reasonable. And you got to think, with 7 and 9 months traveling, if it launched in Africa, it's going to overshoot Turkey. If Noah's Ark launched from the Middle East, it's going to overshoot Turkey. If it launched from Europe, it's going to overshoot Turkey. If it launched from Asia, headed west, I mean, I can see where that might be a 20 to 25% probability. But again, when you look at how many months Noah and his family were inside the ark, most likely it's going to overshoot Turkey. It's going to overshoot it. America is across an ocean, folks. America is across the ocean. So if Noah's Ark launched from Lake Mendota, I mean, you can just imagine with it being, you know, the earth being underwater for 7 to 9 months. That's a long travel. And America, Lake Mendota to where the possible site where they say Noah's Ark landed, I can see where that would make sense. I can see where you're not going to overshoot Turkey if Noah's Ark launched from Lake Mendota and traveled east pretty much in a straight path. It's not going to overshoot Turkey. It's just not. And another thing that you have to, so there's some archaeologists or, scientists, whatever, like people in the field that, they don't think that that's the landing spot, but you got to understand that, like here's some evidence that points to Turkey being the landing spot. Here's some evidence for you. People, if you look at where Noah's Ark landed and you look at where people migrated to, they migrated to the Tower of Babel. And there's many archaeologists, people that are in the field of science. I mean, they don't all agree with the location of Babel, but they do agree that it's somewhere in Iran, Iraq, or the Middle East. That it's somewhere within that radius, right? It's interesting. Now, there's some say that it's here, there's some say that it's there, but it's interesting how they all agree that it's within that small radius, either somewhere in Iran, Iraq, or the Middle East. I mean, it's interesting. And if you look, Iran, Iraq, and the Middle East is not far. It's not too far from where they say Noah's Ark landed. So if people went out from Noah's Ark and migrated to Babel, I mean, it's reasonable. It's reasonable to believe that that is where Noah's Ark landed. That's pretty good evidence. That points to Noah's Ark landing in Turkey. I can see it. That's what I'm saying. I can see that. I can see that being true. And again, I'm not getting this from a book. I'm not really taking the word for it. I've done the research. I've done the homework. I've looked at the map. I've placed my finger, traced my finger across the map east. I've done all that. I've, looked at the travel of Enoch in the book of Enoch, and I've done everything. Like the only thing that I haven't done it, because I'm not a scientist. I'm not somebody who has gone out into the field and done these things or research. But I mean, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take that much of, know-how. It just takes a little research. It just takes a little research. And again, I'm not somebody that has gone out into the field and looked to see which direction the Noah's Ark, the front of Noah's Ark is pointing. But again, if it is true that the front of the ark would be pointing east, that's a good indicator that it came from the west. And again, if you look at Europe, if it launched from Europe, headed to Turkey, it's going to overshoot. That is way too much time for the ark to be on water, to travel on water. So it's going to overshoot Turkey. So I mean, again, I went over how if it launched from Africa, it's going to overshoot. If it's going to launch from the Middle East, it's going to overshoot. If it launched from Asia, I mean, there's a 20 to 25, maybe 35% probability. But taking the amount of time that it was traveling through water, it is probably going to overshoot. The only reasonable that I can see is if it launched from Lake Medoda and it headed east to Turkey. I mean, you have 7 to 9 months of it, probably traveling across the water. And that is without a sail. That's without an engine. That is without Noah steering the ark, because he didn't put any steering system in the ark. So that ark is it from launching point is mainly just going to head one direction. It's mainly just going to head one direction. So, I mean, the evidence is piling up for America. It's piling up for America. And so that's what I'm saying, is it kind of looks like there's a lot of evidence found for America. So I do apologize in the middle of this podcast. I never, said like, share, subscribe, ring the bell notification. But if you could do that, that would be great. Especially subscribe, because why? I put out a challenge for the viewers. I'm putting out a challenge for you viewers, for anybody that's viewing this. When I get to 300 subscribers, I'm going to read from my book, Beauty, a Comedy Series. Now, I'm going to read from it, whether if it's selling or not. So by the time I get 300 subscribers, if the book is doing pretty well, I'm still going to read from it. I'm going to be a person that keeps my promise. But that's the challenge that I'm putting out there. And you can find my book on Amazon. You can click the link. Now, hopefully, the link is still there, even after I end this live stream. I don't know. My all of my videos, I've noticed that once I end my live stream, it's like those comments are not, because I've had live streams where I've had people comment before, and those comments aren't there when you replay. But anyways, hopefully I got that fixed, because I think it was just something that I had to select before I went live. So hopefully I have that fixed to where now those comments would be in the chat even after the live stream. So hopefully, if you're somebody that is watching this later, you're able to click on that link and go to Amazon, check out my book, Beauty, a Comedy Series. And that's all I had for today. Like, share, comment, and subscribe, and ring the bell notification. Once I get to 300 subscribers, I will read to you from my book that I published, Beauty, a Comedy Series, and it's right here. You can click that link, and I will read that for you once I get 300 subscribers. Have a wonderful day. Hopefully you've learned something from this live. Hopefully it has been educational. Hopefully this live stream has been educational, and I'm not saying that I'm going to change everybody's mind. And so again, if you're somebody that does not agree, be respectful in your comments. Be respectful in your comments. Because again, I will say that when I am live and I have people commenting that are not being respectful, you're going to get blocked. Like I don't care how many YouTube channels you make, you're going to just keep on getting blocked. Now, obviously, if you're somebody that jumps on after I go live and, you make those comments, well, whatever. I'm just going to ignore them. But if I'm live and you make disrespectful comments, you're getting blocked. And so I just want the viewers to keep in mind, be respectful. You can disagree. You can disagree, but you can disagree respectfully. You don't have to act like you're smart or that you know the answer. You don't have to act like I'm wrong and you're right. You don't have to do that. Now, if you want to put your opinion, you're welcome to put your opinion, but then, be respectful and just listen to the information that I give, because, I mean, just because you read it in a book somewhere, that doesn't mean that that book is right. And so what I'm saying by that is, let's do the research. Don't just take the person that wrote the book's word for it. Do the research yourself, like I have. Hope that you like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell notification. And hope to see you guys all tomorrow.